In late 2019, the Supreme Court of the Netherlands ordered the government to cut the nation's emissions 25% by the end of 2020, all thanks to a lawsuit brought on behalf of around 900 Dutch citizens concerned about climate change. The case has inspired similar suits in other countries, suggesting that people around the world are starting to demand their environmental rights. The concept of environmental rights is rooted in a simple belief: that everyone has the right to live in a clean, healthy, safe environment. And when countries recognize those rights, citizens can effect powerful change. So far, around 110 countries have enshrined environmental rights in their constitutions. Canada is not one of them. I spoke to David Boyd, a Canadian environmental lawyer and UN Special Rapporteur on human rights and the environment, about environmental rights in our country, and how the COVID-19 pandemic is changing the conversation about our relationship with nature.
It should be said at the outset that the level of impact of recognition of the right to a healthy environment depends on a whole bunch of different factors, right? So in a country like France, where you have, strong government, strong court system, and a functioning democracy, then the recognition of the right to a healthy environment can have quite powerful impacts. Whereas in a country like the Democratic Republic of Congo, where you essentially have a failed state, then it's the right to a healthy environment, like all human rights, is going to have face much greater challenges. But overall, the evidence shows that countries that recognize the right to a healthy environment perform better on comprehensive indices of environmental protection, like the Yale Environmental Performance Index. They reduce air pollution more quickly, they reduce greenhouse gas emissions more quickly, and they have provided more rapid access to safe drinking water and adequate sanitation. Quebec was actually one of the pioneers in this field. Quebec included the right to a healthy environment in its Environmental Quality Act back in 1978. And Ontario included it in the Environmental Bill of Rights in 1993. But those are the only provinces that currently recognize the right to a healthy environment. The federal government does not recognize this right. So the David Suzuki Foundation and EcoJustice have been running this, what they call the Blue Dot campaign, which is really intended to push governments to recognize the right to a healthy environment. They've got these amazing resolutions from over 175 municipalities right across Canada, from Victoria to Halifax. But the federal government is modernizing the Canadian Environmental Protection Act. And 3 years ago, I guess, the Standing Committee on Environment and Sustainable Development in Ottawa held a long public participation, public consultation process, and produced a report recommending that the federal government include the right to a healthy environment in Canada's main environmental law, the Canadian Environmental Protection Act. So that process is ongoing today, and it's quite timely, in fact, because the government is currently deliberating about what steps it should take in terms of the right to a healthy environment. And I'm really, really hopeful that Canada will kind of get with the program and catch up to all of the other countries that have already done so. The interesting thing about COVID-19, which connects it to climate change and connects it to the global nature emergency and biodiversity loss, is that all of these problems, which are global problems of considerable urgency, they all have the same root cause, which is our dysfunctional relationship with the natural world. So whether you talk about climate change and the need to shift to renewable energy and stop deforestation, change our agricultural systems and what we eat, those are the same kinds of things that we need to be thinking about in responding to the COVID-19 pandemic. We're in the midst of the pandemic right now, so it's really important for us to deal with this public health crisis. But I think at the same time, we really have to be thinking that this is not a one-off deal, and it's frightening to think about that. But we're seeing that in the last 3 decades, over 70% of these emerging infectious diseases worldwide are these zoonotic diseases that are making the leap from other animals into humans and causing epidemics, and in this case, a pandemic. So we really need, I think, in addition to addressing, as I said, addressing COVID-19, we have to really invest in preparing for future pandemics. And that means really taking steps to change the way that we deal with deforestation, these huge factory farms, and where we're creating what scientists call the interface between wild species, domestic species, and people.